only mode.
Hello and welcome to the Panhellenic Sorority Recruitment Parent Edition webinar this afternoon. We appreciate all of you that have signed on and are participating with us. Give me 1 second. Looks like we're not quite in presentation mode here. Just making sure that we have our presentation set. My name is Anthony Williams, and I serve as the coordinator of Greek Life here at Vanderbilt University that works primarily with the Panhellenic Council. Panhellenic Council is a group of 10 sororities here on campus, and this webinar is really geared to give you all some information about the recruitment process, about what exactly is happening with the women that are going to be going through the recruitment process this fall, and then what they can expect from the formal recruitment process in the spring. So here is a little bit about our staff here in the office. We have Kristen Torrey, who's our director of Greek Life. She is on this call with me. She'll be helping answer some questions. James Crawford, he's not joining us, but he is also a member of our team who works primarily with the Interfraternity Council. Sam Lemire and Sarah Mirren are both graduate assistants, and then Karen Season is our office manager. And a little bit of technical difficulties. Hope everyone. While we completely figure that out, I'm going to keep talking while we're trying to get. Let's move on to the next slide. So here at Vanderbilt, like I said earlier, we have 10 national Panhellenic chapters there on your screen. We have Alpha Chi Omega, Alpha Delta Pi, Alpha Omicron Pi, Chi Omega, Delta Delta Delta, Kappa Alpha Theta, Kappa Delta, Kappa Kappa Gamma, Pi Beta Phi, and Zeta Tau Alpha. These are organizations that currently have members here on campus and are very active in the community. We also have a group of women called the Panhellenic Executive Board that works with our chapters to lead our community. That consists of anything from president, vice president of recruitment, director of council affairs. Not to read all this to you, but this group of women helps lead the direction of our council. They work with the women to plan large-scale programs, to set recruitment rules, to advertise for different things that are happening. They're really just here as a resource to the women that are part of the Panhellenic Council. So if joining a Panhellenic sorority is not something after they go through the recruitment process that your women do not think is for them, we also have NPC, which is the National Panhellenic Conference Associate members. We have 2 organizations that are historically multicultural. Lambda Theta Alpha is a Latin sorority, and Sigma Lambda Gamma National Sorority is a multicultural organization. These 2 organizations specifically fall within the Panhellenic Council, but they do not participate in our formal recruitment process, which is what we'll mostly talk about today. Those 2 organizations have recruitment policies that are more similar to our National Panhellenic Council sororities, which are historically black organizations. And the other 4 listed, they're Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority, Delta Sigma Theta, Zeta Phi Beta, and Sigma Gamma Rho, are the NPHC organizations. We will have a webinar sometime later in November for those organizations to learn more about the NPHC process. So if that is something that your women are interested in, those are also options about joining our Greek community. So clearly, the ones of us in our office enjoy what we do and think that being Greek is an amazing opportunity. So just to tell you a little bit about what your women, your daughters can expect by joining a Greek organization. One of the most important things, I think, is sisterhood. And you can kind of see by the pictures, while it's just a small representation of the relationships and friendships that can be built by joining an organization, the sisterhood that you get from joining a sorority is amazing. The time that you'll spend with these women, you'll probably spend more time with them than you do anyone else. You will study with them, you'll go out in the town with them, you'll cry with them, you'll laugh with them. You'll build genuine relationships with these women that can last for a lifetime. And it's always nice to hear stories of people who go on to go to graduate school or to have a wedding, and you look back and see their friends and sorority sisters are the ones who are in the pictures with them for the rest of their life. Something that is great also about being in a sorority is the leadership development opportunities that are produced by our organizations. Each organization has a variety of leadership opportunities, whether that's going to national conferences, local events that are put on by alumni. That could also look like the educational programming that happens within each of our organizations. Because of the standards that our office sets, each chapter is required to do educational programming throughout the year that follows in a variety of categories. And so it builds the character and the integrity and the leadership abilities of our women. Having to plan these programs, having to go through that process and basically run small businesses, small organizations, of 140, 50, 60 plus women takes a lot of leadership skills, and it's something that being a part of a sorority can really benefit the women that are going through the recruitment process. Scholarship is something that we harp on here at Vanderbilt. Nobody's getting a degree in Greek life, but they're getting degrees in biomedical engineering or medicine, health, and society. And I think our women here at Vanderbilt do an amazing job of performing in the classroom. Their GPAs consistently as a community are around a 3.5, which is amazing. The average of our women in the community is higher than the all-women's average. So our women are very dedicated and very committed to performing well academically and take their scholarship very seriously. And of course, they like to have fun. They all have different social activities, whether that's going to a park and just hanging out with each other, walking around, enjoying the sunshine and the beautiful Tennessee weather here at Vanderbilt, or that's going on a date party and getting the chance to take someone that they care about or a friend to a local venue and just getting down with their friends and sorority sisters and having a good time. Our women have a lot of fun, whether it's going to tailgates or going to football games or other athletic events, supporting other social activities that the fraternities or any other organization on campus are putting on. The social aspect is a large part of what happens and can help define the experience of a sorority woman. I think something that you can't overlook is the community that the women will be joining. Yes, we have 10 organizations here, but there are many other organizations not represented, and there are members across the world that are members of sororities. And that community aspect, not only here at Vanderbilt, but also globally, is something that can be beat. I don't think you can compare it to anything else by joining these types of organizations. Values-based organizations have the ability to change people's lives, and being a part of that community that allows you to do a lot of the things I already talked about is something that is very valuable and is meaningful when we talk about joining a sorority. And two of the things that I think our women do very well are service and philanthropy. Just as a community last year alone, we did over 45,000 hours of community service and raised close to $600,000 for our philanthropies. So as a community, we're really rocking and rolling, and our women are leading that charge. I mean, I think are doing an amazing job when it comes to serving the community and raising dollars that are going to impact the lives of others around them. So joining a sorority is something to strongly consider, and for all of these reasons, and I could go on for days about stories and reasons that women should join, but I think it's a great opportunity. It's just a little bit about what we expect and what it means. So like I said earlier, I have Kristen Torrey is here. She's our director. She is here to answer any questions that you all might have as we continue. We're going to start getting into a little more of the nitty-gritty aspects of recruitment and kind of the expectations of membership. So if you have any questions, feel free to type them in. She will respond as swiftly as possible, and then if there are any other questions lingering at the end, we'll be sure to answer them. All right. So just expectations of membership. Like I said, our women do very well. So to join, they expect you to have some sort of high academic standing. There are academic expectations for every organization. If they don't meet them, a lot of times the sororities will require study halls, put you on some sort of academic probation to help you get your grades up. This is something that our women take very seriously here at Vanderbilt. The time commitment. I listed a lot of things on the previous slide that requires time and energy of the women in the organizations. And members are expected to attend chapter meetings, new member meetings, any of the sisterhood events that happen, service and philanthropy events, and to just get involved with general chapter activities. That could look anywhere from being an officer to being the chair of a committee. The time commitment can be a lot, so we do encourage our women to space it out, to be smart, but to realize that joining is a time commitment. And there's definitely a financial commitment. As it says there, dues for new members can range from $1,000 to $1,500. For women who are continuing, so they're either their sophomore, junior, or senior year, it lowers a little bit. Those first-time fees are a little higher. But all that information can be found in our Guide to Greek Life book, which is located on our website. Every first-year student receives that book at the beginning of the year. So this shouldn't be a surprise to them, but the financial commitment is definitely something to remember and keep in mind as women are considering joining Panhellenic sororities. So recruitment. This is a presentation about the recruitment process here. So we're going to give you a quick rundown of the logistics of recruitment before diving in a little bit further. So Vanderbilt University has a deferred recruitment process, which is a little different, if you will, than a lot of schools we might be familiar with that come back early from the summer, and they have the first 4 days when the women come back, they have to decide which sorority they're going to join for the rest of their lives. Vanderbilt is a little different. They allow you, we're fortunate enough to have the opportunity to delay that process. So our women can just get on campus, they can enjoy their commons experience, hopefully they're doing that now, and then they can start worrying or joining or concerning themselves with what being a sorority is all about. So the recruitment registration deadline is not actually until November 7th, so there is about a month left to register for recruitment. After that, we have an event called Panhellenic Preview Day. That event is designed to give the potential new members, which is what your daughters or would be, or the women would be called until they actually join an organization. Panhellenic Preview Day is an opportunity for the potential new members to just see what it feels like to go through a round of recruitment. They'll practice lining up outside of the houses, they'll practice going in, they'll just kind of get a general flow of what that day will be like. So when they come back for formal recruitment, which will be January 10th through the 18th, when we get back after winter break, they will know what's going on and will have a general gist of what the process will feel like. Letters of recommendation are something that you might have heard of from your local Panhellenic or just through the grapevine. These letters are not required by Vanderbilt's Panhellenic. If a chapter requires a letter, it is the responsibility of the chapter to obtain that on her behalf. So some places they'll say send the letters, and there's a lot of pressure to get letters before recruitment. But here, if you can get them, that's great. They're amazing. It can speak volumes. But with the deferred process, it allows time for women to really build relationships with each other beforehand, and a letter from, random lady at your church might not hold as much weight as having the conversations at different events and meeting women in class that can happen with the deferred recruitment process. And so the term, well, let me go back. So you can see the access and information on our Greek Life website. If you do have letters of recommendation, there are addresses that you can send them to. So just access that, and if you have any questions, please feel free to contact us. We can point you in the right direction. So the term legacy it differs based on chapter, but typically it means if the potential new member's mother, grandmother, sometimes sister or aunt were in an organization, they could be considered a legacy of that organization. So that is something that may be weighed in the recruitment process in the favor of a potential member, but it may not. It really just depends on the organization. So that is something that a potential new member can indicate when they register for recruitment using ICS. So that's something we'll talk about a little later, but that's just what a legacy is. And then the last part about recruitment logistics is what our process, we like to call it a mutual selection process. So what does that mean, right? That means that the chapter and the potential new members have the opportunity to choose where they would like to go back for the next round. So chapters, after each round, will select who they would like to extend invitations to, and then potential new members also select where they would be interested in going back to. So that process continues until we get to the final bid day, preference day, where you'll go to the organizations that you've matched with, or you've selected and they've selected you. So that's what that means to have a mutual selection process. It'll make a little more sense if you're confused once we start talking about recruitment logistics or the recruitment schedule. That's just a brief overview of the mutual selection process. Is both sides have a say in which organization the PNMs wind up in. So for recruitment eligibility, there's a minimum of a 2.5 GPA. Some chapter expectations may be higher, and if you remember earlier I said our women generally have a 3.5 or higher GPA as a community, which is higher than the all-women's average. You can see last year the average GPA of a woman who received the bid was a 3.4. So yes, a 2.5 is the minimum, but we definitely encourage the women who are going through recruitment to work hard this semester, because that 2.5, it may not be enough for some organizations to make it past their selection process. You also have to have 12 credit hours earned at Vanderbilt as a first-year student, so that lends itself to the second semester recruitment dates. And you cannot be on disciplinary probation. And that was tough to say there for a second, but you cannot be on disciplinary probation. That is one that sneaks up on people sometimes. So for a variety of reasons, people get placed on disciplinary probation, but we do not allow individuals who are on that status to join our community. Okay, so something important to keep in mind is that your women will have support. They're not just going to be thrown into the recruitment process out here by themselves without anyone to go to. We do have a program called the Gamma program, which are recruitment counselors who actually have been assigned to some of the petitioner members who have already registered. So these are upper-class women who have disaffiliated from their chapters. So that means for the time that they're at Gamma Chi, they will not represent their chapter, they will not wear letters, they will be neutral representatives of the Panhellenic community to help the women just go through the process, to be there to listen to them, to meet with them on a regular basis, to prepare them for the recruitment process, to answer any questions they may have. During the recruitment process, they'll be the ones who will deliver schedules to them, who will help them get from one location to the next. They're really just there as a resource to help aid what can potentially be a stressful process for the women, to make it make it easier and to make it feel more comfortable. So they'll, over the course of the semester, the course of the fall semester, they will meet and attend events, which is actually the next piece I'll talk about. But they'll meet, attend events, and really build relationships with those women that can last, their entire time here at Vanderbilt, whether they're in the same sorority or not. So I think it's a really cool way for our women to get integrated into the system and to not feel like they're just small fish in a big pond. I mentioned the events that they can attend with their Gamma Chi groups. So the groups will be based off of their residence hall. They'll try to pair them in groups of maybe 20, 25, depending on how many people register. And those groups will then have the opportunity to attend a variety of events in the fall. Something that is coming up in a few weeks is the Philanthropy with Panhellenic. That event will be an opportunity for the women to learn about the Panhellenic philanthropy, which is Circle of Sisterhood, and just to really interact with members of the sororities that are here on campus. There also are educational events. Later on in October, there's a Crawford lecture, which Crawford is one of the halls on our commons, and this is actually, Crawford is the only hall that's named after a woman. So it's very interesting how this has come about, but it'll be a great opportunity for our women to interact with potential new members in an educational setting, to learn about what it means to be a leader without having the title of a leader. So it's very relevant for a lot of our women, considering everybody can't have the title of a leader, but everyone should be involved and should be participating and can still step up and make a difference. There's also social events. We have one in November called Pumpkins with Panhellenic. This one will have all sorts of pumpkin-flavored things and just be a time for the potential new members and the women in the sororities to interact with each other. And then there's also Panhellenic Preview Day. I talked about that earlier, where the potential new members will go to all the houses, and it will be very similar to one of the first rounds of recruitment, just to get their feet wet, to see what it feels like, to have an opportunity to explore the sororities, go to the houses, and just understand what it's going to be like when they get back to campus. And then the last thing that happens in the fall is Recruitment 101. Recruitment 101 is where we give the potential members who have registered a little more information about the recruitment process. There's a fun fashion show, the what to and what not to wear to recruitment, so that when they get back from winter break, they'll be prepared, they'll have everything ready. There shouldn't be any questions before or after Recruitment 101. Okay, so I keep talking about recruitment. You're probably wondering, what in the world is this thing all about? So we've made it through the fall. They've attended all these different events. And so now they're at formal recruitment. They're here. It's game time. It's ready to go. There's a pre-recruitment meeting when we get back. Sunday, January 4th, 2015. Here on campus, we go through any final details, make sure everybody is where they need to be and knows what's going on before going to display round. So display round is the round where every potential new member that's registered will have the opportunity to go to all 10 of our sorority houses. At the end of display round, the women in the chapters will select who they would like to invite back to philanthropy round. At the end of the display round, the potential new members will then select the top 7 chapters that they would like to go back to. They'll give them a 1. All 7 they might want to go back to, give them a 1, and then the other 3, they'll be ranked in 2, 3, 4 order in the order that they would wish to go back to them if they are invited. So you can go to 10 houses in display round, which then hopefully you caught that philanthropy round, you can go to a maximum of 7 houses. That same process where the choosing happens on both sides. Who would you like to invite back? And for the P&Ms, where would I like to be invited, where would I like to go? For entertainment round, where they can go back to a maximum of 5 houses. Same process happens before prep round, where there they can go back to a maximum of 3 houses. And then of course there's bid day. Bid day, Sunday, January 18th, is a great time for a lot of the women. It's very exciting, a lot of emotion, and is where the women receive their bids for the organizations that have selected them for membership, and hopefully, it matches up with organizations that they have selected as ones they would want to join as well. Something that Vanderbilt does that I think is pretty cool is if the women do a thing that we call maximize their options, we guarantee that they will be placed in the sorority on bid day. If they make it to preference round and they maximize their options, they will be placed in a sorority on bid day. So what does that mean? So like I said, there were different kind of thresholds at each round. So 10 display, 7 philanthropy, 5 entertainment, 3 preference. Those are the maximum that you can have in each round. So if a woman is invited back to 3 or to say to 5 houses for entertainment round, but decides that she only wants to list 3 of those houses and she's released from the process, we can't guarantee anything for her. I guess a better example would be if, going in a preference round, she has 3 houses, but says she only wants to be a part of 1. We can't really do anything for her. We need her to actually list all 3. If she does that, then we can guarantee that she will receive a bid on bid day. I hope that wasn't too confusing. If you have any questions about that, feel free to ask. But that is the schedule for formal recruitment. All right. So here are just some myths that I don't know if you all have heard them through social media or the web or movies that have been out, but just so you all can help dispel these myths with the potential new members. I must drink to be in a sorority. That's not true. A lot of our women choose not to participate in drinking and have an amazing experience. I must have a letter of recommendation in order to get a bid. Touched on that a little bit earlier. If you don't know anyone that's in a sorority back home, that's fine. It is, like I said, the responsibility of the chapter if they require a letter of recommendation to obtain that on behalf of the potential new member. Okay. So as a potential new member, I can't interact at all with active sorority women. That's not true. People might perceive that to be a thing because it's just a perceived power dynamic between first-year students and upper-class women. But we are encouraging our potential new members to interact with sorority women, to enjoy the events that are happening. We've set some up for them to have that experience. So that's definitely a myth. I will be judged based on what I wear or how expensive my clothing is. That's not the case. We have a variety of women here in our community from all kinds of backgrounds, and that's just not true. So if you hear any of those, here's a second page. I'm guaranteed a bid for my mother's or my sister's sorority. That's not true. I touched on it earlier about the legacy status. While some organizations may honor that, it's no guarantee, and every organization has the right, reserves the right to give bids to whoever they choose to. My friends from high school can guarantee me a bid here at chapter. No, they can't do that. And if they try, that's the kind of thing we would like to know about, so that we can help address that in the community. But that should not be the case where friends are guaranteeing bids for her particular chapter. Then if I achieve a 2.5 GPA, I will have a successful recruitment. Like we stated earlier, our women are very academically oriented, so if you just have a 2.5, there is no guarantee that you will receive an invitation back from a particular sorority. There's no guarantee that you'll have a successful recruitment. So something to keep in mind as your women are finishing out their first semester. I know now is kind of a stressful time for a lot of them with midterms and different demands being put on their lives, but that leads to our tips for successful recruitment. Academics are very important. They need to take those seriously and really understand that school is first. Sorority, can come second. Joining a sorority is important, but you can't join if you don't have the grades. Get involved. One of the best ways to meet sorority women is to be in the same student organizations as them, to interact with them, doing community service, whether you're going to church or something with them, just to hang out with on campus and get involved with different organizations. I mean, we have over 500 student organizations here on campus, so there are a lot of options for involvement, and our community is very involved in those organizations. Have a positive impact. So just always represent yourself in the best light possible. Keep an open mind. There are a lot of people who will say negative things about the fraternity and sorority community here at Vanderbilt, but keep an open mind. Encourage your women to go into it with the best of intentions, to ask questions, to engage in the community. and doing that, make judgments for themselves and to realize that every organization is different. They should respect everyone and what they're doing, but that we're ultimately here just trying to improve our community. And then last but not least, to be yourself. We have all sorts of personalities in our community. Our women are dynamic, involved in anything you can imagine, and they don't look for any cookie cutter mold. You can be yourself and find a home within the Vanderbilt Panhellenic community. So some tips for you all, just as you all are going about your day and interacting with your women. Encourage your daughter to attend as many campus events as possible during the fall semester. Being involved is the best way, like I said, to meet active Greek members and to learn about their chapters. Involvement in other student organizations is looked favorably upon during the membership selection process. Students need a ton of support throughout the process of recruitment and new member education. So be supportive and learn as much as you can about Greek life. One of the cool things to do is to set a Google alert and just find out what's going on at Vanderbilt, find out what's going on across the country with Greek life. Ask questions of your student as she is seeking membership, and as she meets women in other sororities. Like we said earlier, you all can keep an open mind as well. Greek life is not for everyone. Just because you may have been in a fraternity or a sorority does not mean that it's the right choice for the women who might be going through the recruitment process. So just keep an open mind. Like we said earlier, the financial commitment is relatively large. So talk about how it's going to get paid for. Will the student have to take out money from somewhere, work another job, or will you all, as the parents or guardians, be able to help support the expenses associated with being in a sorority? Know that the system of sorority recruitment at Vanderbilt is competitive. Not everyone who wants to be Greek will be Greek. Like I said, there are a lot of opportunities here for involvement. So if Greek life does not work out, it's not the end of the world. For some students it may feel like that, but there are many opportunities to join or to stay involved within the community. Stay out of the way. This one seems a little strange, but don't become too involved in the sorority recruitment process. This is your son or your daughter's decision. There'll be plenty of activities and events for you to attend, whether it's a dad's weekend or mom's weekend, parents' weekend, to come back and interact with the sorority. But this, while you're there to encourage them, this should not be your process. This is their recruitment process. And then keep the Office of Greek Life informed if you have any questions. Anything that's going on that doesn't seem right, let us know what's going on. We love to talk to parents that are concerned about their students, and just to help make sure we can keep everybody safe and healthy. So if you have any concerns, let us know. And then know that every organization here on campus is different. Things here for one organization might look different than another organization at another school or something that you've heard. So just keep that in mind as you're interacting with the women that are going through the recruitment process. Okay, so after recruitment, what can you expect? So the new member education process for most of the sororities lasts 5 to 8 weeks. Through that process, there will be a variety of learning modules that they might do, which will teach them about the history of the organization. There'll be some new member development pieces that are happening there, and just a time for the new members to get to know the women that are already in the organization, but also a time for the new members to get to know each other. They can do community service events. They're expected to attend educational programs. And then last but not least is initiation, which is a great time where they get their pins and are officially members of the organization. Something that you should not expect is hazing. This is, in the past, has not been a huge concern within the Panhellenic community, but just to make sure that everyone's on the same page, hazing is not tolerated in the Vanderbilt community. Nationally, this is something we're trying to eradicate. There are a lot of incidents across the country that involving sororities and fraternities, and Vanderbilt takes a hard stance on hazing. So if there are any behaviors that you think are questionable that your women are going through, please let us know. There's an online hazing reporting form on our website. You can call our office. Just call somebody, let somebody know. We would rather you do that and be concerned and it be nothing than for it to actually be something and for us to not know about it. The more we know, the more we can help keep everyone safe and have a healthy member experience here within a sorority. So kind of wrapping up here, so like I said, if you have any questions, feel free to type those in. But the recruitment registration is live and should be completed now. As soon as the women register for recruitment, they are able to be placed in a Gamma Chi group and get started with the recruitment process. They'll get more information, they'll be able to get emails. That can be accessed through our Greek Life homepage. There's a link that's just right there on the front page. There's a $50 registration fee that can be paid online only. And like I said earlier, the registration deadline is November 7th at 5 p.m. So you have a little over a month to get that done, but the sooner the women register, the better. The sooner they do it, we can get them plugged in and get them acclimated to the things that are happening in our community, and give them opportunity to just get to know us, get to know the Gamma Chi's, and really interact and enjoy what's happening in the fall semester. So you can always connect with the Panhellenic Council on Facebook, Vanderbilt Panhellenic Council, and then our Greek Life Facebook page, Vanderbilt Greek Life. Both are relatively active. You find updates and information that's happening in the community. If any of you all are on Twitter, there's our Twitter handle for Panhellenic, as well as our Instagram and Pinterest accounts. So just ways to see what's happening in Panhellenic, and maybe in the spring you might see your woman on some of our social media as new members in our sororities. So at this time, I'm going to stop talking and open the floor for any questions that you might have. So feel free to type them in, and if there were any that were relevant, Kristen is going to just kind of talk and answer those now. So thank you all so much. I hope this was informative and that you were able to take something from this. So Kristen, we'll send it over to you.
Thanks, Anthony. The question that I received was about recommendations, and as Anthony mentioned, the thing that our women care the most about related to recommendations is actually their interactions that they have with potential new members throughout the first semester, whether that be in class, and other student organizations, and elsewhere on campus. If you can get a recommendation, please submit that recommendation and turn it in. But if the chapter does need to obtain a recommendation on her behalf, it's really not that big of a deal. It is certainly something that our women do. We have students who come to Vanderbilt from all over the country, and some women who participate in recruitment have no recommendations whatsoever, and they are just fine. So if you can get recommendations, absolutely send them in. If not, don't worry about it, and make sure that she's really getting good grades and having good interactions with upper class sorority women throughout the fall semester. The next question that I got was about where can you find the cost for each sorority. The guide to Greek life is on our web page, and that's on at just www.vanderbilt.edu/Greek_life. And we'll put that in the webinar as well, so that you can click directly onto that link. In addition, all first-year students and transfer students received a hard copy of that document as well. Okay, then there is a question about, can freshmen attend fraternity parties now that are registered parties? Yes. Fraternity parties that are hosted on campus, in our on-campus fraternity houses that are registered, meaning that they have third-party security and third-party bartenders that are assisting in the management of those events. Those students are open to first-year students. Our fraternities control and manage who is allowed to come to the parties. So fraternities will create a guest list for those events, and that will be who gets to come into the party. So yes, they are permitted to attend. those are all the questions that I have right now. Does anyone else have any other questions that they would like to type in? Okay. Do recommendations get sent to the local chapter or to the national organization? We have local chapter designations on our website of where the recommendations can be sent. There are some national organizations that utilize an online form for the submission of those, and so you can fill it out that way, but our chapters would collect them locally so that they have them, and those addresses are located on our website as well as in the Greek guide. The next question is, any tips for sophomores going through recruitment? The best tips for sophomores that I would give is to keep an open mind. It's the same thing that I would say to everyone, but for sophomores who've had more time here on campus, they sometimes can be more specific about a particular organization that they're interested in joining, and that may or may not work out for them. And so certainly the aspect about keeping an open mind is very, very important. I think that part of it is to just think about the same expectations that we reviewed about anyone's success in the recruitment process, making sure that we're getting good grades, making sure that you're involved on campus, making sure that you are keeping an open mind about the chapters that you're willing to seek membership in. All of those are things that are important. And I think that our sophomores sometimes have had more experience on campus to identify where do they have more friends and where have they seen chapters that have women who have the same interests and values that they do. They've just had longer to participate in the learning of that, and that can work to their advantage. And so making sure that they're doing that would be important. The next question was, can we listen to this webinar again? Yes, the webinar is recorded and will be available both on the Parent and Family website as well as the Office of Greek Life website. Okay. When should recommendations be sent? I would suggest to send the recommendations as soon as you have them. Our women use them most frequently as a way of a letter of introduction. You should be on the lookout for this person. And so that's the most helpful time for them to be sent in, but certainly you can send them in at any time. We have recommendations that sat in mailboxes over the summer, and we have recommendations that will be sent in on the third day of recruitment. So that's all over the place, but I would recommend to send them in as soon as you have them. This question is, please speak about the cultural diversity in sororities. I'm actually very proud, I will say, as a person that's worked with our sororities for 12 years at Vanderbilt, that Vanderbilt is a much more inclusive place from our sorority recruitment perspective than some other institutions. There has been some national media attention around the lack of racial and ethnic diversity at some other campuses, and so I think that for our women, we have women who are from many different race, ethnicity, religions, cultures, sexual orientation, socioeconomic status, physical disability, any kind of diversity that you might consider. We have women who are a part of our sorority community that have found a place here in our community. So I think that that's not a major issue here for us, like you might read about in some other places. Okay. Next question, approximately how many freshmen are given bids from each chapter? That depends on the year. At its most basic level, you can take the number of people participating in recruitment and divide it by 10, the number of sororities that we have on campus, and that is approximately the number of bids that will be given out. Our average new member class size for the last couple years has probably hovered between in the mid-40s to maybe 50 or a little more. Just kind of depends on the year. Okay, then there was a question about any recommendations for shy women going through recruitment? Well, I will tell you that, by nature, sororities are social organizations, and that certainly there is an element of that that involves being able to talk and make conversation with others. And so I think that for a shy woman who's considering participation in recruitment, it would be even more important for her to establish real, genuine relationships with women during the fall semester. So whether that be through her involvement in other student organizations or classes, or the way that she is getting to know people during the fall, that would be really important, because if it's going to be difficult for her to engage in small talk or conversation during the actual recruitment, it will be important that women have had the opportunity to get to know her and be able to see why she would be an asset to their chapter, and where she might find a place there prior to recruitment beginning. Next question, is there a way to confirm receipt of a recommendation? You would need to do that directly through the chapter. You can email the chapter president and recruitment chair, are listed on our website as well, and you could contact them to make sure that they have received it. Next question, how many sophomores get bids? That really depends on the year and how many sophomores are participating in the process. Similarly to the way I answered the question earlier about how many women get bids, if you took the number of sophomores participating in recruitment, let's say that was 100, approximately 10 of the women that would go to each chapter would be sophomore women. But because of that, we have sophomore women who have made up their mind to say which organizations they're more interested in pursuing membership. We tend to have a slightly higher withdrawal rate during recruitment of upper class women than we do of freshman students. I think last year we had more than 70 sophomores who received invitations for membership. Next question, what is the percentage of girls that don't get bids? And we generally at Vanderbilt place between 88 and 92% of the women who begin our recruitment process. The majority of those women that represent the, say, 10 to 12% that start but then don't receive bids on bid day, the reason that has occurred is because they have chosen to withdraw from the process. And we do have a small number of women each year who are not asked back at some point during the recruitment process. But as Anthony explained, all of the women who attend a preference party and that have maximized their options and participate actively in the recruitment process and make it to preference night, as long as she lists all of the options that are available to her, we will guarantee that she will receive a bid the next day. Sometimes we have women who do not receive bids on bid day because they chose to limit their options, meaning that at preference round they had more than one option available to her, but she said, and she made the choice to say, I would rather not be in a sorority at all than be in my second or third choice chapter. And that is certainly within her rights to make that decision. And we will thoughtfully counsel any student who is considering making that choice. We don't want to force women to be in sororities that they don't wish to be a part of. But those are the kind of places where we find women who don't receive bids. Those are all of the questions that we have at this time. So if you have any other questions, please type those really quick, and we'll be happy to get back to you. Of course, our office is here to help however we can. So if you have any questions or comments or concerns throughout the fall semester or throughout the recruitment process in January, we would be happy to answer those questions for you. We really appreciate the time that you've taken to listen to the webinar today, and hope that this has provided valuable insight to you about how you can best support your daughter through the Panhellenic recruitment process. Thank you so much for joining us.